This story is a deep and emotional, true-life-inspired narration about two brothers, Seun and Tunde, who were members of the Black Axe Confraternity at Lagos State University. They grew up together, shared the same blood, the same dreams, but got caught in the dark world of cultism. Seun was calm and quiet, hiding his true identity, while Tunde was loud, fearless, and known as a hitman. Their involvement in cult activities led to a rivalry with the Eiye, or Airlords, a group that never aligned with the Black Axe. One wrong move, one wrong fight, and everything changed. In the end, the two brothers were taken down, a painful reminder that cultism offers nothing but sad news, sorrow, and wasted potential. In Lagos Ojo, there lived two brothers, Seun and Tunde. They were not just ordinary young men. They were already deep inside one of the most feared confraternities in Nigeria, the Black Axe. Everyone around their area knew about them. Their names carried both respect and fear. They were known for being fearless, unpredictable, and loyal to their brotherhood. Seun, the elder brother, was the quiet one. He looked calm and innocent, the kind of person no one would suspect of belonging to a violent cult fraternity. His soft voice and gentle way of speaking made people comfortable around him. Yet, deep inside, Seun carried a cold and dangerous side that only those close to the Black Axe world could see. He was loyal to the core, disciplined, and strategic. People said that when things got serious, Seun's calm face could change in seconds into something dark and frightening. Tunde, on the other hand, was completely different. He was the loud one, the hot-tempered type, and everyone knew he was part of the Black Axe. He was not ashamed or secretive about it. Tunde had a reputation that spread through their street, a reputation of trouble, fights, and power. He was known for handling confrontations directly. While Seun would avoid unnecessary problems, Tunde loved facing them head-on. Despite their differences, Seun and Tunde shared one thing in common: loyalty to the Black Axe. They believed in the brotherhood more than anything else. It had given them a sense of belonging and power that they never had before. In their area, other young men looked up to them, some out of fear, others out of admiration. The brothers carried themselves with confidence, like kings of their street. But deep within, their paths were leading them into darkness. Though they didn't know it, their story was a warning written by fate. They lived in a time when cult rivalry was tearing down campuses across Nigeria. In Lagos State University, two strong groups ruled, the Black Axe and the Airlords. The rivalry between both groups was more than old grudges. It was about dominance, territory, and pride. And, unfortunately, Seun and Tunde were part of that story. Many people wondered why two brothers who had everything ahead of them chose such a path. They were intelligent, focused, and capable of building real futures. But the world of cultism is tricky. It lures young men with promises of power and respect. It begins as friendship and ends as a life-threatening trap. Seun and Tunde were already too deep to find a way out. Their names would soon become the center of one of the darkest chapters in the history of Lagos State University's cult rivalry. Lagos State University had always been a place where dreams met danger. Beneath the lectures and social gatherings, a quiet rivalry brewed between two powerful confraternities, the Airlords and the Black Axe. Their feud was deep, stretching back years, long before Seun and Tunde gained admission. To outsiders, it looked like youthful rebellion, but to those inside, it was a battle for control, a struggle for who truly owned the campus. The Airlords, often called the Kings of the Sky, carried themselves with pride and discipline. They were known for strategy, intelligence, and organization. Their members were usually composed, educated, and influential. They valued secrecy and precision in their operations. On the other hand, the Black Axe, feared by many, represented the raw power of the streets. They were bold, loud, and unafraid of confrontation. Their strength came from unity, loyalty, and an unshakable presence in both campus and city life. Everyone in Lagos State University knew that the two groups never saw eye to eye. They were rivals in everything: territory, recognition, and influence. Parties, elections, and even student hostels often became silent battlegrounds. While the Airlords preferred to plan in the shadows, the Black Axe made their authority known through dominance. It was a power game that rarely ended without casualties. Seun and Tunde, being respected members of the Black Axe, found themselves right in the heart of this tension. Seun, quiet and observant, understood the risk of conflict and tried to stay out of unnecessary trouble, but Tunde was different. He was bold, fearless, and unpredictable. His name was already known across the campus and nearby areas for his strength and temper. Where Seun used calmness to command respect, Tunde used fear to enforce it. As the semester went on, clashes between the two confraternities became more frequent. It started with warnings, then confrontations, and finally small skirmishes that left fear in their wake. Students began to move cautiously, avoiding any situation that could attract attention. Still, beneath Seun's quietness, tension was building. Tunde's growing pride and temper were pushing them both toward danger. And though no one could predict when the storm would break, everyone in the university could feel it coming. The rivalry between the Airlords and the Black Axe was no longer just rumor, it was becoming reality.
Tunde had always been the kind of person who couldn't stay out of trouble for long. His confidence and temper often got the better of him. While Seun tried to keep a low profile and focus on survival, Tunde lived for dominance. He loved being recognized and feared, not just as a member of the Black Axe, but as one of their most daring soldiers. It was during one of the university's student parties that things began to take a dangerous turn. The party was meant to be a neutral event, a gathering where students from all walks of life came to unwind. But in an environment where two rival confraternities existed, peace was often fragile. Among the crowd were members of the Airlords, who were also trying to enjoy the night without causing trouble. Unfortunately, pride and alcohol mixed badly with old grudges. Tunde, already half drunk and boasting loudly with his friends, accidentally bumped into a well-known Airlord member. At first it looked like a harmless mistake, but when the Airlord reacted with a cold stare and a few sharp words, Tunde's pride couldn't let it go. He saw it as a challenge, a test of his strength and reputation. Voices were raised, tempers flared, and soon, what started as a minor disagreement turned into a heated confrontation. Other students quickly cleared the area, sensing what was about to happen. Though the fight was quickly broken up by security and senior students, word spread across the campus by morning. Tunde, the Black Axe hitman, had disrespected an Airlord. That was all it took to ignite the silent conflict again. The Airlords felt insulted, and for them, it wasn't just about pride, it was about respect. Tunde had unknowingly crossed a dangerous line. Seun heard about the incident later that night, and his heart sank. He knew his brother's temper would someday bring serious trouble, but he didn't expect it to happen so soon. By the next day, tension hung heavy around the campus. Groups moved in silence, eyes watching every corner. Seun tried to reach Tunde, but Tunde brushed it off with his usual arrogance, saying nothing would happen. But deep down, Seun knew, this time, trouble wasn't far away. The Airlords never let disrespect go unanswered.
Days passed after the party incident, but the tension around Lagos State University refused to fade. The story of Tunde's clash with the Airlord members spread like wildfire, whispered in corners of classrooms, hostels, and even bars around the campus. Everyone knew what usually followed such news: retaliation. Seun was the only one who seemed to fully understand the weight of the situation. He had seen similar events unfold in the past, how one small misunderstanding could spiral into violence. He tried countless times to talk to his brother, to make him see reason, but Tunde remained defiant. He laughed off every warning and claimed he was ready for whatever came his way. His confidence came from years of being feared. He believed no one could touch him. But what Tunde didn't realize was that the Airlords were patient. They weren't rushing to strike. They wanted to make their move at the right time, a move that would send a message not just to Tunde, but to the entire Black Axe structure on campus. Meanwhile, Seun began to notice strange faces around their area, men who seemed to be watching their movements from a distance. At first, he thought it was his imagination, but when it continued for days, he knew something was coming. The quietness around their lodge was unsettling. One evening, as Seun returned from a lecture, he saw a small symbol painted on the wall near their lodge, a symbol known to mean danger. His heart skipped a beat. He quickly ran inside and confronted Tunde, begging him to leave the lodge for a while. But Tunde refused. He believed moving out would make him look weak. That night, Seun couldn't sleep. He sat awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to every sound outside. He could feel something building up, a kind of silent storm waiting to break. The rivalry between the Airlords and the Black Axe was no longer just a campus story. It had become personal. And even though Seun didn't want to admit it, he knew, deep down, that the storm was about to reach their doorstep. The night was unusually quiet around the lodge where Seun and Tunde lived. The moonlight fell faintly across the narrow street, and the usual laughter from nearby hostels was missing. It was the kind of silence that carried a warning, a silence that meant danger was near. Seun had been uneasy all evening. He had gone to class earlier in the day, but something didn't feel right. A few of his friends had told him that they heard rumors, that the Airlords were planning a move. No one knew when or where, but everyone knew who the target was. Seun tried again to convince his brother to leave town for a few days for the second time, but Tunde was too stubborn as always. He believed fear was for the weak. Tunde sat in the room that night, polishing his favorite wristwatch and listening to music. He told Seun not to worry, that nobody would dare touch them in their area. To him, it was unthinkable that anyone could challenge a known Black Axe hitman on his own turf. Seun stayed silent, but inside, his fear grew heavier. By midnight, the lights in the lodge were out. The street was empty. Then, faint footsteps echoed in the distance. They were slow, measured, and purposeful. Within minutes, the sound of car doors closing broke the silence. Seun got up from his bed and peered through the curtain. He saw shadows, men dressed in dark clothing, moving quietly toward the lodge. Before he could warn Tunde, the front door burst open. What followed was chaos. Loud footsteps, muffled voices, and the sound of struggle. Seun's heart raced as he tried to hide, but it was too late. The Airlords had come in full force, and they knew exactly where to go. There were no arguments, no time to plead. The attack was swift and brutal. Within minutes, the quiet night turned into a tragedy. The same lodge that once echoed with laughter was filled with silence again. But this time, it was the silence of loss. By dawn, word had spread across the campus. 2 brothers, Seun and Tunde, were gone. The Black Axe mourned, the Airlord stayed quiet, and the entire campus understood once again that in the world of cult rivalry, no one truly wins. The sun rose slowly over Lagos State University, casting light on a campus that felt heavy with fear. Students gathered in small groups, whispering about what had happened overnight. The news of Seun and Tunde's downfall had spread faster than anyone expected. For many, it was unbelievable. The 2 brothers, who once walked confidently through the campus, were now gone. The lodge where it happened was surrounded by curious faces, though no one dared to go too close. The building stood silent, its walls marked by the chaos of the night before. The police had come and gone, doing little more than taking pictures and making vague statements. To them, it was just another violent night in Lagos. Seun and Tunde's downfall hit different people in different ways. For some, it was a warning. For others, it was just another story in the endless rivalry between the Black Axe and the Airlords. But for those who knew the brothers personally, it was heartbreaking. Seun had always been the calm one, the quiet soul who hardly spoke, while Tunde was the strong-headed fighter, always ready to prove himself. In the end, they both met the same fate. 2 lives wasted in a fight that never truly ended. Around the school, security was increased. Hostels were searched. Meetings were held by the student union and lecturers who feared the violence would escalate, but deep down, everyone knew these measures wouldn't stop anything. Retaliation was part of the cycle. Once one side struck, the other would surely respond. Among the Black Axe members, there was anger, not just at the Airlords, but also at themselves for letting it happen. Some wanted revenge immediately, while others urged caution. But one thing was certain. The downfall of Seun and Tunde had stirred something deep. Meanwhile, ordinary students tried to carry on with their studies, pretending everything was normal. Yet, there was a sense of tension in the air. Every loud sound made people flinch. Every unknown face was watched carefully. The tragedy of the 2 brothers became another painful reminder that cultism was a path that only led to destruction. No matter how strong, fearless, or loyal one appeared, the end was always the same: silence, regret, and loss. The downfall of Seun and Tunde didn't just end with sorrow. They ignited something deeper within the university and the streets beyond it. The entire Lagos State University community fell into a tense quiet, like a wound struggling to heal while everyone waited for the next strike. For the Black Axe members, the loss of 2 brothers wasn't something they could overlook. Tunde had been one of their known figures, a strong hand in most of their battles. His downfall was seen as an insult, a direct challenge to their reputation. The members began to move silently, holding secret meetings at night, whispering about revenge. But the older ones among them urged restraint. They knew the Airlords wanted them to strike back recklessly. Retaliation without thought could bring even more violence. Outside campus, in the streets of Lagos, word also spread fast. In the neighborhoods where Seun and Tunde grew up, everyone had an opinion. Some blamed Tunde's pride. Others blamed the system that allowed young men to believe that violence was power. Mothers warned their sons to stay away from cult activities, while friends of the brothers struggled to accept that 2 young men with so much life ahead were gone so sad. Meanwhile, the Airlords who carried out the execution didn't speak publicly about it. They didn't need to. Their silence alone was enough to send a message. Everyone on campus now knew who held the upper hand. The Airlords walked more boldly, their symbols appearing on more walls, their presence more visible. But deep down, even among them, some members began to question the endless fight. The university authorities tried to calm the situation, but everyone knew that the university's actions were like pouring water on a fire that had already spread underground. For students who were not part of any group, fear became part of their daily lives. They avoided gatherings and changed routes to avoid certain areas. The rivalry between the 2 groups had turned the once vibrant campus into a field of silent tension. And in all this, Seun and Tunde's story lingered as both a memory and a warning that no matter how loyal one might be to a cause, cultism always ends the same way, in pain, emptiness, and loss. Weeks turned into months, but the fear left behind by Seun and Tunde's downfall didn't fade. The lodge where they once lived remained empty, abandoned like a haunted building. Some said strange sounds were heard there at night, whispers, footsteps, and soft knocks on the door. Others believed it was just guilt haunting those who knew what had happened and did nothing. Within Lagos State University, things changed quietly. Students moved differently, parties were fewer, night movements were limited, and the open display of confraternity power reduced for a while. Even those who once bragged about being a part of something big began to keep their affiliation secret. The memory of the two brothers' tragic end was still fresh, and no one wanted to be next. The Airlords remained visible, but their actions became more calculated. They no longer needed to make noise. Their dominance spoke for them. Meanwhile, the Black Axe regrouped in silence. Meetings became smaller, more discreet. Every plan and movement was now guarded carefully. The organization knew that any careless move could bring the eyes of both rivals and the authorities upon them. Yet, despite the quiet, the tension remained. Students could feel it in the air, in the way certain faces avoided each other, in the uneasy silence that followed every rumor of a clash. Some lecturers even started including peace education topics in their lectures, trying to remind students of the value of life. The story of the two brothers became a lesson told by older students to younger ones. Stay away from cults. It never ends well. Yet, even with the lessons and warnings, the circle of violence continued to spin in silence, a reminder that once someone stepped into that dark world, walking away was almost impossible. The truth was clear. Cultism had no winners. Every strike, every revenge, every claim of dominance only built more tomb and shattered more dreams. And so, Seun and Tunde's names lived on, not as heroes, but as a warning. A warning that no matter how deep one gets into the world of violence and brotherhood, it always ends the same way. Silence, regret, and the echo of what could have been a brighter future.